the oil and the flour will not run out. She contributed all she had, her whole livelihood, and should, in fact, have been a beneficiary of the treasury. She shouldn't have put that money in. After Jesus chastises the scribes and Pharisees, he lifts her up and says, depending on how you interpret the text, isn't it a shame that she has been hoodwinked by the religious leaders to put in everything she has when she should, in fact, have been beneficiary of the treasury? I'd like to move beyond the two widows in the scriptures today and talk about two other women. The first is called Auntie Pape. Her real name was Josephine Toucher Marshall. She died just a month ago at 105 years old. The second woman, the mother of exiles. The Toucher family were Slavs in Slovenia. The 1910 census reported that there were 183,431 Slavs that came to the United States as exiles, foreign-born. Many of them had changed their name, hoping to be thought of as Austrian, because Slavs weren't welcome in the Austrian-Hungarian Empire. They were at the bottom of the heap. Their intellectuals were in prison. 300,000 came to the United States just before the First World War. Auntie Pape's parents were among them. You can imagine them on the ships of the day, coming into New York Harbor and being greeted by the mother of exiles. You can picture the Statue of Liberty. And you know that she's not a woman that's going to be on the red carpet with Yves Saint Laurent. She's not a Greek goddess. She's not a perfect body. She's the mother of exiles. They wouldn't have been able to read the whole poem. And I think to our disadvantage, we don't know the whole poem carved onto the monument that holds the mother of exiles. Not like the brazen giant of Greek fame, with conquering limbs astride from land to land. Here, at our sea-washed sunset gates shall stand a mighty woman with a torch, whose flame is the imprisoned lightning, her name, Mother of Exiles. From her beacon hand glows worldwide welcome. Her mild eyes command the air-bridged harbor that twin cities frame. Keep, ancient lands, your storied pomp, cries she with silent lips. Give me, you're tired, you're poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed, to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door. Like, what a fabulous text. What a fabulous symbol. Not a Greek goddess, but the mother of exiles. And 300,000 Slovenians are coming to the United States. 300,000. 50,000, a caravan. About 50,000 of those settled in Calumet, Michigan, very near to where I live, to work in the copper mines. Auntie Pape. She was born in 1913. Preparing for her funeral, I looked up 1913. I Googled 1913. New York's Grand Central Station was rebuilt and reopened in 1913 as the world's largest. The 16th Amendment was ratified, authorizing the federal government to impose and collect income tax. The Women's Suffrage Parade took place in D.C. Inez Milholland led it on horseback. Woodrow Wilson succeeded William Howard Taft. The Woolworth Building in New York, tallest building in the world at the time, opened in 1913. John D. Rockefeller established the Rockefeller Endowment with $100 million. The Ford Motor Company developed an assembly line. Chassis assembly time was reduced from 12.5 hours to 45 minutes. Arthur Wynne published the very first crossword puzzle in the New York World in 1913. Richard Nixon was born in 1913, and so was Merck Felt. Deep Throat. They were born the same year, as was Gerald Ford, as was Rosa Parks, as was Jimmy Hoffa, as was Woody Herman, Vince Lombardi, Burt Lancaster, Jesse Owens, Loretta Young, and Auntie Pape. This little lady who sat on her chair, confessed her sins, and died. Who's who and what's what in the world in which we live? Who matters? Who counts? The mother of exiles and Auntie Pape, and the two widows in the Bible today. I think we need to lift them up. We celebrate today the 100th anniversary of the armistice that ended World War I. Woodrow Wilson, the internationalist, he had lots of problems. He was racist, he had all kinds of problems. But he had high ideals for internationalism. The war to end all wars. The war to make democracy possible, even for the Slovenians back in the Austro-Hungarian Empire. How we pull all of those things together today with the caravan, which isn't really a caravan at all, and with the bishops who are going to be meeting starting tomorrow in our own city and in the very difficult world that the church is living in, much of which her own creation. The oil isn't going to run out and the flour isn't going to run out either. The mother of exiles stands with the Virgin Mary, with Auntie Pape. This is what we do when we gather at the Eucharist. We share the one bread and the one cup. The oil and the flour doesn't run out. It's right here. We say amen to it, and we stand up. We stand up with hope and dignity and joy as sons and daughters of God, Americans, Catholics, all of the above, in trust and confidence that God is God and we're not, and that the life that God gives is to be celebrated.